There are two tough truths in this life that are everything changes and everything ends. And so when something ends that you have loved, it might be a relationship, person passes away, is no longer with you. It might be a job that you're in that just crumbles and falls apart, something that you've poured yourself into and is no longer there. How do you deal with those moments? I remember in my young 20s, I was in Europe, and we had the opportunity to meet with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and some other world leaders. And there was a gentleman there who was on the forefront of forgiveness work, and his name was Azeem. And Azeem's son, Tariq, had been delivering pizzas. He was 20 years old. He was engaged to be married to his girlfriend, Jennifer. And just to make ends meet, to put himself through school, he was delivering pizzas. And one night, he had delivered a bunch of pizzas. It was his very last pizza of the night to deliver. And he was lured to a bum address. And when he opened the door, the kids on the other end shot him dead. And Tariq died at the age of 20. And the kid who shot him was a 14-year-old kid, and this was part of a gang initiation. And so Azeem was talking about what it felt like to lose his son at 20 years old. A son who had a beautiful, bright future, who was engaged to be married to his girlfriend. And he said it felt like a nuclear bomb going off in his heart. And yet somehow Azeem was able to overcome that grief and that pain and able to move himself forward, and not in just any casual way, but in a profound way that got the attention of world leaders. Azeem was able to actually befriend the grandfather of the kid, that 14-year-old kid who had killed his son, because Azeem believed that there were actually two victims at the end of that gun. One was his son, and the other was this 14-year-old kid who ended up getting sentenced to, I believe it was life in prison. And so the grandfather and Azeem, through some beautiful work, were able to do forgiveness work and able to take what it meant to forgive and expand your heart beyond the current condition or circumstance or challenge that you're facing, and began speaking at high schools and speaking at colleges and speaking at venues literally around the world. And so when I had a chance to talk to Azeem, because in my young 20s, the whole idea of forgiveness, the whole idea of when something really bad happens, how do you move past that? When you're in your darkest moment, how do you move beyond that? And he shared three really powerful ideas that I hope will serve you if you're going through a really dark time. Maybe you've lost somebody that you love. Maybe you're facing a diagnosis right now. Maybe your work, like everything's crumbling away and it feels like your world is falling apart. How do you move through that? So I hope that you can absorb these three ideas, and I hope they serve you in this moment. The first idea is to remember that you're not alone. As painful as this feels and as hard as this might be to go through, to know this, that you are not alone in this experience, that there are other people who have gone through similar things and have come through it. There are other people who have gone through the most horrendous things that life has to offer and have found their way through and ultimately created a life where they're able to experience joy again and happiness again and actually live from that place of expansion again. So to remember that you're not alone, and some of the most healing things that you can do is get inside of support groups where you have a chance to share and connect and hear other people's stories. But the grief and the pain wants you to isolate. It wants you to pull back. It wants you to cave up. It wants you to not call a friend, not cry with somebody, not share your story, not share what you're feeling or what's going on. And the more you're holed up in a cave, the longer that pain will be there and the more intense it is. It actually gets life from that isolation. So the most healing thing you can do is reach out and to connect and to be held and to cry and to hold others and to share in that way. So step number one here is that you are not alone. The second concept is to be patient with yourself. To know that whatever feelings are bubbling up are okay. It's part of the process. It's part of your unique process. So often we'll put ourselves on some artificial timeline. We think that, well, I should be done by now. I should be fully over this by now, or I should be able to move forward by now. I shouldn't be feeling any more of these feelings by now. The more you push those feelings down, the more you resist your own cathartic healing process, the more you actually elongate it. You cannot heal what you cannot feel. So allowing yourself compassion, that as waves of emotions come back and come over you, to give yourself permission to feel those and to have compassion for yourself, to be soft on yourself. And that actually facilitates the healing process. You're allowing these waves of emotion to come up, you can feel them and then release them, and that's what enables the healing process. There was a time in my life where I was supporting my mom because she had lost everything that she had built. She's an author, she's a thought leader, she was a minister for 26 years, and she built this huge ministry, thousands and thousands of people. It was actually the largest ministry of its kind in the world, and everything fell apart. And she lost everything. She lost the ministry, she lost the house, she lost her car, her and her husband got a divorce, and it was such a hard time for her. And I remember supporting her, and she shared an idea from a book called Dark Night of the Soul, written by St. John of the Cross. And she said that as she was coming out of that experience, this book really captured her experience in the sense that the moment you stop resisting what's happening, there's going to be a moment when you begin accepting that this has happened, it's the way it is, whether it's a diagnosis or a loss of a loved one or a loss of a business. There's this point where you accept what's happening. And then several very interesting experiences occur with that acceptance. Number one is this feeling of release, because you've released fighting and attachment. The second is this feeling of relief, because you finally set down the weight of what you've been carrying, and now you're going to move into this next stage. And then the book, Dark Night of the Soul, he said the third thing that happens is this strange feeling that comes over you, a strange sensation that you don't want this period to be over too soon, because you really do want it to give you everything it's come to give you. And it's a very strange idea, very strange feeling, especially if you're going through intense pain, especially if you're in intense loss. But the idea here is to hold one corner of our mind open to the fact that what if there was a seed of good inside of this? What if there was some blessing that this experience was carrying for you? What if it could make you an even more compassionate person? What if it could help you bless other people's lives who are going through similar pain? What if it was helping your soul evolve in particular ways that it's not going to evolve without this particular circumstance in your life? What is the blessing? What is the seed of good that could come out of that? And just be staying awake and aware that there isn't anything that can happen without that, also that seed of good, that seed of blessing. So those three ideas: to know that you're not alone, to be compassionate and patient with yourself, and to be aware and awake to what is the seed of good that could potentially be birthed through this experience. Those three ideas can serve you. And that's exactly what happened for Azeem. Azeem took that horrendous experience that happened to him, and he harvested every seed of good that he could. And in that moment, when I was in Europe at that meeting with him, he blessed my life, because he helped show me in human form that one of the most painful things that could ever happen to you, losing your child, that there's hope through that there's joy that can be experienced again, there's happiness that can be experienced again, and there's good that could even come from a situation like that. So if you're in a dark night of the soul, if you're in one of your darkest moments, I invite you to hold on to these three ideas and allow them to serve you and bring even more peace and hope to your world. Feel a big hug from me to you. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you soon.